We see women in their late 40s, 50s, with these perfect bodies, and that they've had a lot of help to get to wherever they are. And sure, some women are blessed with those bodies, but it's not the norm. So just stop comparing yourself to anyone and to really love your body, accept your body, and take responsibility for your body. And with that, the healing process will begin. And it's a much happier way to live than constantly fighting what you have and wishing it was different.
This is Intentionally Ever After. Join intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek for a series of personal conversations and coaching sessions with various people about how living with intention shows up for them.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Intentionally Ever After. Today, I'm very excited to chat with my friend, Sonja McGillicuddy. Sonja, welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really glad. Will you kindly introduce yourself to folks?
I'll be happy to. So like you said, my name is Sonja. I am currently living in Cape Town, South Africa. And I have 2 boys. I'm married and we have 2 dogs as well. And I am a holistic health coach. And I've been health coaching for about close to 3 years now. And my focus is women my age that are in their 40s and dealing with some hormonal challenges and how those can affect your life. And I support these women through all the ups and downs that come with perimenopause and menopause. It can be a challenging time, but it can also be a beautiful, beautiful time if you know how to manage what life throws your way and how to support yourself. And that's what I do with my clients.
Wonderful. And I'll add in there, if you follow Sonja on social media, you can see some of the breathtaking views that she gets to experience on a regular basis. It's fun to be able to experience that.
We actually had some snow this past weekend, which was quite surreal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So Sonja, what does it mean to you to live intentionally?
So I was thinking about this question because I was quite sure you were going to ask it. And there's quite a bit of power behind your intention. And I think living with intention to me means living with a purpose and not just going through your day, ticking off tasks off your to-do list, but really being intentional with how you want your day to flow and knowing your why behind every action you're taking. It could be as small as, making breakfast for your kids or walking your dog, getting yourself ready, and then just setting up your day. So it also, for me, it means slowing down, taking time to rest and be quiet. And with that, I mean taking some time to meditate and really taking the autopilot off life. Yeah, that's what it means to me.
I like that idea of taking the autopilot off of life, because what happens, talk to me a little bit about that idea, the autopilot.
Well, you can look at it from a broad perspective. We have sometimes these visions of how we want our life to flow. And, having goals and strategies are great, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And often better things actually happen. So what I mean by taking the autopilot off is, okay, so this is what I want to do. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. I can shift. I'm not necessarily stuck on what I want to happen. So I'm not just ticking things off my list. And this could be, going to college, getting married, like it could be that broad, or it could be on a daily basis with okay, I worked out, I had a green juice, I meditated. It's more about going with the flow of life and really being present, for every moment, every decision, every action. You'll get much more out of living that way.
Yeah, I like okay, good. Getting present, living in the present and going with the flow. How do you connect that idea to figuring out your why?
The way I figure it out is I look at myself, right? So the woman that I support is me about 2 years ago. So I know what I went through. In creating my business, I was very intentional about what I wanted to achieve because I want to support women that are experiencing what I experienced 2 years ago. So being intentional with what I want to do connects me to my why.
And it sounds like because you've lived it, you're very clear about what you experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you insist upon now as a result of having lived that experience? That now you know this about yourself. What are some things that you maybe insist upon? Perhaps maybe have about a daily habit.
So for me, just to go back a little bit, I started my career in hotels. I worked for many luxury hotels and I loved the industry. I worked all kinds of jobs. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is where I really learned customer service and how to identify the unexpressed wishes and needs of my clients. And after hotels, I decided I wanted to focus a little bit more on family. That's when I found yoga. And I did several yoga teacher trainings. And yoga is really where my life changed, or where my path began to where I am today. Practicing yoga and then also guiding yoga really changed my life. And I don't think I would be the same person without it. So yoga and meditation is a huge part of who I am on a daily basis, and is also a huge part of my practice. They're tools for my mental health. After my first son, I struggled with postnatal depression. And that was also a significant moment in my life, because after I managed that and was able to see a little bit more clearly, and as the fog of depression lifted, I realized there was much more I can do to support myself with natural resources. With natural, I don't mean pharmaceutical. And I'm not dissing pharmaceutical drugs here. They certainly helped me get through those first horrible, dark days. But I realized they're not the end all. So I turned to yoga, to meditation. And then I also turned more to nutrition and to my lifestyle. And this is also when I did my certification as a health coach with IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It was a great, great course. And I learned so much about myself and so much about what I can do to support my mental and physical health, to be able to sustain a happier mind and body. So yeah, to answer your question, yoga and meditation are the two things that have changed my life and that I believe could change humanity as a whole if we all did it.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so how do you convince the person, or what was the transformation for you past that initial stage of maybe dabbling, right? Because many people are aware of yoga. Many people are aware of the concept of nutrition and dietary needs. So what kind of flipped the switch for you to being a true believer, if you will, in each of those?
My improvement in my mental state, my mental health, the ability to be much more present with my kids, much more patient, much more resilient, really, in my day-to-day life. And for anyone listening that hasn't tried meditation, you always have these images of these perfect poses, sitting cross-legged with a straight spine and, doing some funny hand gesture. Sure, that looks pretty, but that doesn't have to be that way. Even if you just sit in your chair with your eyes closed and breathe deeply for 5 to 10 minutes, that's meditation. Certainly the more you practice and the longer you practice, the deeper, I don't want to say the better you get at it, the easier it is, because often your monkey mind sets in when you quiet your body. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm bad at meditation." And that's not right. You're just haven't practiced enough yet. It's a practice. So you notice if you do it. So if I don't meditate, I can feel it. My sleep is poor. My patience is terrible with my kids. Yeah, so that for me, I just noticed a difference after some consistent practice. Consistency is key.
So when you're at your best, what does your current meditation practice look like?
Gosh, ideally, I'd like to say twice a day for 15 minutes. First thing in the morning, I splash my face with some water, brush my teeth, drink some water, and then I sit down for 15 minutes. I set my alarm and wake up a little bit earlier. It's actually my favorite time of day when the house is still quiet. Nobody wants me yet. And I can just sit and be with myself. And then I often journal if I have the time. And then I like to do it, which the second one doesn't always happen, is as I transition from my workday to my role as a mom, taking 10 to 15 minutes just to breathe and let the work stuff go and then sort of shift gears and be, mom. If I can do that, then I'm winning. So ideally, twice a day.
Yeah. Oh, and you said a little thing there, if you can let the work stuff go. How do you process that? Where do you let it go to? Do you put it into a category? What's that transition like?
Right now, having a list. So making sure that whatever's in my head is down on paper. So I do sort of a mind dump of things maybe that I haven't done, or things that I still want to do, things that I need to follow up on. So as much as I can, I like to put that all on paper so I know it's there, so I can just free my mind from those thoughts. And then ideally, also put my phone away. Yeah, of course, sometimes it doesn't happen, but that's the ideal scenario. So making a list and making sure it's out of mind and on paper.
Yeah, it sounds like it allows you to free your mind and allow you to be more present.
Yes.
With the task at hand, with the loved ones at hand, right? Excellent. What have you said no to that has made a significant impact in your life?
That's a great question. I think at some point, I'm not exactly sure, but I realized that I was mainly responsible for my happiness and for my contentment and for being fulfilled. So I said no to being a victim. No more victim mentality. I don't rely on my husband, my kids, my family, my mom, my dog, nobody to make me happy. Only I can make myself happy. If I can't make myself happy, then nobody can make me happy. Yeah, taking responsibility for your health, for your wellness, and being true to yourself. So there's so many excuses that we can make why we don't have time to be healthy or move our body or exercise or take care of ourselves. And I get it. I've been there, and especially my clients, women in their 40s, we're dealing with so many things. Often our parents start getting sick around this time. Our kids are, sometimes we're just a taxi, driving to, and our kids they have demanding social lives. Like I'm also a party planner most of the time. And, there's so many excuses, but this is where the intention comes back in. You can get lost in all of that, but you always have to come back to yourself and say, have I taken care of myself today? And you also have to get quite selfish with your time. And often women, we have this stupid guilt mentality sometimes. If we tend to take care of everyone else before we take care of us. And what happens is we burn out. And most of my clients are in some sort of burnout phase where they're just taking care of everyone else except themselves. And then they start blaming their circumstances, their reality. And while I have huge compassion for that, because it is often the reality, but if that's the reality, then you also have the power to change it. You just have to make a commitment to yourself that you are going to change it.
That sounds very powerful, right? Making the decision to change it. Feeling like you have the power to, firstly, right? And then making the decision.
And sometimes things get so overwhelming, you don't know where to start. But that's where somebody like me comes in, and I guide you through wherever you want to go. I'm not here to give you, more information. You can just go to Google. There's so much information on the internet, but, my role as a coach is to really hold your hand and guide you through the whole process, be there to support you, hold you accountable to your goals, and empower you. I mean, that's the best part. So many women reach, their 40s and are approaching 50 and they're like, oh, my life's over. Everything's going downhill from here, perimenopause and menopause. We need a completely rebranding of this time of life, because it's not over. You're just transitioning in this beautiful new phase of life. You give less F's about what other people think about you. You get an upgrade. But yes, you also have to deal with a lot of physical stuff. Your hormones are all over the place. You're moody. Yes, there are challenges. But if you can work through those challenges and regain that body confidence and that joy, then, your 40s, you're just kicking butt. And that's what I want everybody to know. It's not over. You're just transitioning to the next beautiful, empowering phase of your life.
Yeah. That already sounds like you've rebranded it right there into the empowerment phase.
Spread the message.
Yeah. Okay. So what has shifted or been highlighted or emphasized as a result of COVID?
Oh, gosh. From a health coach perspective, I truly believe that if we take care of our bodies, our body will take care of us. That being said, I know that, there are many people that are struggling with diseases, but I think right now there's so much fear that we have forgotten how powerful our bodies are. We need to be, again, more intentional about how we take care of ourselves and make sure that we are providing the strongest host to battle whatever, comes our way. So this pandemic has really shown me that, unfortunately, our governments and most doctors, I don't want to say all doctors, but we're not focusing on health. Why haven't cigarettes been banned? Why hasn't alcohol been banned? Why aren't people, getting access to organic fruit and veg instead of, getting a free donut when they go and get a vaccination? Like, it's so messed up. We need to focus on health. So that's one big thing. Yeah, it's I've had my moment. This, it's a personal story from this weekend. My little one, he just turned 9, and he's like, Mom, these have been the worst 2 years of my life. And it's heartbreaking what these little people have to deal with. Growing up in a pandemic, being afraid to go to school, having to wear a mask all day. It's insanity. And I just realized, I just trying to instill in them the importance of taking care of themselves, not being afraid, and finding joy, So it's really difficult to balance everything right now. But I think really focus on your home, which is your body, and focus on the loved ones around you. And that's, I guess, all you could do right now. But take responsibility for your health.
Yeah, it sounds like in that way, it's trying to stay away from the victim mentality, which admittedly is quite pervasive in a global pandemic situation, right? And especially when you talk about through the eyes of your tiny little loved ones, it's hard not to see things as being maybe unfair, but you're realizing what you can do as a parent, but also what they can do as well as taking care of their bodies. What can they do in the face of a global pandemic to still, don't go for that free donut, even though, man, free is free, but what are some things that allow you to be who you want to be, even though this crazy stuff is happening outside of our control?
Yeah, you can, and things are, rough for many people. Many people are losing their jobs, and, they perhaps don't have the money to buy, unfortunately, processed food is much cheaper than healthy food. But do what you can. There's always something, try and eat more vegetables, be kind to one another, and I think joy, that human connection is so important. We just have to rekindle that connection to ourselves and who we are. And then also, reach out and, if you're not comfortable going in-person events, then, keep reaching out to friends and family, via Zoom or on the phone. But we can't isolate ourselves. It's not healthy. Especially with this, I don't want to say monster, but this the social media presence. There's so many conflicting opinions that you just get bombarded with, and you just don't know what to believe. And really, again, just look in the mirror and what feels true to you.
I like that question. What feels true to you?
And take responsibility for how you want to live.
How about folks, because there are so many conflicting messages out there, and fear mongering, and especially in this great time of uncertainty. So how do you help people trust what feels true to them?
It all comes back to slowing down and, looking at your habits, your daily habits. Some people, when I first start working with them, they're drinking 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day. And as a woman, when your hormones, well, first of all, your cortisol, your stress hormone goes up. And maybe in your 30s, 3 or 4 cups of coffee. I'm not saying 3 or 4 cups of coffee is bad. I'm just saying as you progress through your 40s and your cortisol goes up, your progesterone goes down, your ability to cope with that stress is also not what it used to be. So if you're, keep doing the coffee, then you're burning, you're stressing out your system. So just taking a look at habits, your daily habits, and again, being intentional about what those are and looking at your daily habits and noticing how you feel. I always start my clients. So I do a 3-month program, and the first month is quite an intense elimination period. So we take out any inflammatory foods like caffeine, alcohol, sugar, gluten, dairy, and people listening to this are like, oh my God, what can I eat? Well, there's still lots.
Right. You listed all my coping mechanisms right there, all in one.
Well, that's the thing. They're all coping mechanisms, and it's only for 3 weeks. And first of all, what you'll notice is an intense withdrawal from the caffeine and the sugar and possibly the alcohol as well. Very often after 10 days, most of my clients have lost about 2 to 4 kilos. And it's not about the weight loss, but then they realize how inflamed their body actually is. And then after the initial detox, those first 3 to 4 days are quite intense. Then after that, they're like, oh, wow, I have so much more energy. I can actually have clear thoughts and I'm happier. I'm not grumpy. I don't need that 3rd, 4th cup of coffee in the afternoon. I get them to drink more water. I get them to, exercise is not so intense, especially in those first few days. But then, then the lights that go off, because you've been living on autopilot. You've just been living on caffeine and go, 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 go. And once you just slow it all down, you have the ability to actually notice what's going on and notice how all these things are affecting your body. And then phase 2, the 2nd month, we start adding these things back in. And then we can really tell, if you have a cup of coffee, how does the caffeine actually affect you right now? Does it make your heart race or not? Some people tolerate caffeine, but again, most women in their 40s, their tolerance goes down. Alcohol is the same thing. Your sleep deteriorates if you drink too much alcohol. You get hot flashes from the alcohol, and you don't necessarily correlate the two. So then again, I'm not saying don't live without caffeine and alcohol. Life is, we have to enjoy life, but we want to get to a place then eventually where you can find a place of balance and know how these foods or how these beverages are affecting your body. And then, phase 3, we create a sustainable plan that works. So it's not about depriving you of your favorite glass of wine or, your champagne or whatever it is. It's about learning to create peace around it and come to a place where you are still supporting your body, but also still enjoying the things that you love. But it's a process.
I'm sure, right? You're having folks face systems that they've been using for quite some time probably and leaning on heavily that maybe are not serving them quite to the degree. It's not about shifting 180 degrees maybe, but it's about being more intentional about the usage and the breakdown or the makeup of all the things moving forward.
Yeah.
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 So what in your life right now feels just about perfect, even though we've just talked about all the things in the world that aren't?
Well, to be honest, I don't like the word perfect. I think it shouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
But I know where you're saying, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because even again, often, we're looking to have that perfect life. And certainly if you go on social media and you scroll, everybody seems to have a perfect life, right? I mean, the filters and it's the highlight reel. So everybody's striving for some sort of perfection.
Yeah.
Well, stop striving because it doesn't exist. But for me right now, I guess what I'm really content with, and that's what's working well, is where I am with my mission and with my work. I think that's one thing in my life that feels really good. I feel like all my experiences from the hotel industry to yoga to the health coaching and all my personal experiences, it's sort of all come together. Like many roads have led me to this one road. And yeah, I just want to get my message out there and support as many women as I can to empower them to be able to tackle this part of life with joy rather than with despair.
It sounds like you're also giving women a peace of mind as well.
Yeah. And ultimately freedom, right? I mean, that's ultimate freedom in my mind.
Ultimate freedom sounds just about perfect, wouldn't you say? I know you wouldn't. Who is someone you admire, and what do you admire about them?
Oh, I have to say my mom. She is turning 80 this year, and she's been a hairdresser all her life, and she's still seeing clients. She is not slowing down. She is so strong mentally. She is such a hard worker, but also full of fun and joy, and just has been a great role model, or is still a great role model for me. Yeah.
Sounds like joy is a key ingredient to you living the life you want to live.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have been depressed, or if you know anyone that's depressed, I mean, that's one of the first things that you don't have. You don't have joy. So knowing that you have it, or feeling the joy again, is you're healing, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it sounds like part of getting that joy is identifying the fact that you do have some power to insist upon it. You have the ability to make that happen, it sounds like.
Yes, for sure.
What are some parallels with the women you work with and, say, women your mom's age?
I think mostly being 100% comfortable in the body that you're in, and also taking care of your body. Everything you do now in your 40s and 50s, well, everything you do your whole life, really. But I mean, most of us don't really take care of our bodies in our 20s and our 30s. So we'll talk about the 40s and 50s. There's a lot of damage control that happens in the 40s.
Can the same be said for women in their 80s, or just maybe even people in their 80s?
I hope, there's still a lot of damage happening in the 80s. Good for you. No, I guess what I'm trying to say is that all the effort that you put in now will lead to a happier and healthier, God forbid, if you don't have any major, chronic disease or illness. But if you're fairly healthy, if you move your body now, and for us women, building muscle, I just started weight training. I used to hate it. But gosh, at 43, 44, I just everything was loose. Everything was moving south. And you have to start, using your muscles. And the stronger you get physically, the better you age. You just have to keep moving. And my mom, she's on her feet. She doesn't do that much exercise, but she, as a hairdresser, you're standing pretty much all day. And that has served her well in a way. So a parallel is also, I think, acceptance of where you're at in this part of your life. You can't heal a body that you hate. If you don't accept where you are and the body that you have, you're always going to be losing. You first have to love what you're given and what you have, and then the healing begins. And I think that's true of any phase in your life.
Very well said. What do you imagine some people admire about you?
I guess I'm very loyal to my friends. I'm very supportive and kind. I would say those are three things and I'm a great cook.
Ooh, do tell. What do you enjoy cooking?
Everything without a recipe. I don't really I'm inspired by recipes, but then I create my own things. My favorite thing is to go into a nearly empty fridge or pantry and then say, this looks good, and then create something. So working in the hotel industry, I had the privilege, I even worked in kitchens as a banquet chef. Yeah, I watched a lot of great chefs do their brilliant art. So I was very inspired by that. And it's a creative expression for me. I love, it's a place where I can be creative. I'm not very good at singing or drawing, but I'm good at creating tasty food.
Yeah, and it sounds like your family gets to benefit from that as well.
They do.
What other thoughts do you have that you'd like to share?
I really would just like to highlight the importance of taking responsibility for where you're at, accepting where you're at, loving your body, not comparing yourself to anyone. Again, on social media, we see women in their late 40s, 50s, with these perfect bodies. And that they've had a lot of help to get to wherever they are. And sure, some women are blessed with those bodies, but it's not the norm. So just stop comparing yourself to anyone and to really love your body, accept your body, and take responsibility for your body. And with that, the healing process will begin. And it's a much happier way to live than constantly fighting what you have and wishing it was different.
For your clients, do you recommend a social media fast?
Yeah. If you notice, there's a little, what I do even when if I get triggered by a post, or if I see something, I'm like, oh, that looks nice. I catch myself. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't follow this person anymore. Instagram is my playground. I'm not so much on Facebook. There's a lot of noise on Facebook. Instagram for me, if I'm managing it properly, is a place of inspiration. I learn a lot from people on Instagram. Again, you have to fact check and whatever, and also joy. You see funny stuff. But if you notice yourself, just check in. How do you feel when you stop scrolling? Are you holding your breath? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you you have to check your Instagram 5 times a day? Or is it just like a casual, let me go on, see what's happening, and then you can go off, or you can miss it? I think a tech fast is a great thing to do as much as you can over the weekend, or even in the evening, sort of from dinner to the next morning, if you can. Just put your phone away. So, yeah. If you notice it's not serving you, then don't do it.
Well, yeah, simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Could one maybe draw a parallel to your 3-phase program, where the first part is the fasting of the thing, so in this case, the social media, and then maybe carefully bringing some back and curating your own experience that works well for you moving forward? More Instagram posts from Sonja, perhaps?
Yeah, just don't unfollow me. Just stick with me. No.
That's right.
But that's a great idea, doing a social media detox while you're doing your food detox. That's not a bad idea. Maybe that's actually, because I think the food detox is for some people really, really hard. And I guess, going on social media cheers them up. But maybe that will be something to do in the second phase, where we focus really on self-care and we get more intentional with our lifestyle, and we start to add in more meditation. And, it's different. It's different for everyone. Every client is so different. So it's really the program, although the scaffolding is the same, but the details are very personalized. So, but in general, yeah, doing a social media detox, I think, would be so beneficial.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering about this first phase for folks that can seem very, maybe putting them in a very vulnerable spot. What do they hold on to during this time when they've given up maybe all their previous vices, and now we're talking about social media as being part of that? What do they hold on to as you walk them through this first phase?
It's not so much what they're holding on to, but it's more about what they're numbing out. So, you are not happy with some aspect of your life. And instead of dealing with it, you have a couple of glasses of wine. It makes you happier. It makes you forget about, what you're going through. It makes you forget about the day. Or maybe it's sugar, So taking away those certain substances is not only a physical adjustment, but even more, it's what it does to your emotions. And you realize how much you're using sugar, carbs, alcohol as a numbing agent,
Yeah, it's like an emotional management tool or an emotional suppression tool, maybe.
Yeah. And being faced with that is really uncomfortable. And actually, some clients get quite angry, they get resentful. They're like, ugh.
I could see that.
They don't want to deal with it. And, that's where I come in and I push you. I'm not here to make it easy. I'm here to make it work. Yeah.
Because at the end is where they would find the joy in the new system, the empowerment.
And the freedom again. And it's also, drinking especially, it's a lot of social, what am I trying to say? In some circles, there's almost like an obligation, not an obligation, but you feel if you're the one not drinking, everybody looks at you and says, why are you not drinking?
Sure.
Why, you have to explain yourself 10 times. Not drinking is just not normal in some circles. I mean, so it's just an interesting, why are you drinking? You have to ask yourself, are you drinking because you're just enjoying this one glass of wine and it tastes so good with the food you're eating? Or are you drinking to numb something, social pressure? You don't want to feel like the odd one out. You don't want to look weird. You're afraid of not fitting in if you're not drinking, or you're not having fun if you're not drinking. It's just a good thing to sort of look at.
And I think a lot of folks maybe aren't ready to ask themselves those questions. And it's a lot easier to reach for that next glass than to ask yourself that question, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's where you come in the path towards the freedom, the empowerment.
Yeah. And like I said, it's ideally if you get to a place where you can balance, and maybe, whatever that means for you, that's where we want to get. And again, it's different for everyone.
Right.
And that process of eliminating the alcohol also takes longer for some people than others, because there might be like this habit that they've really formed, or there's some bigger emotional stuff that they need to work through. And the emotional stuff really then goes beyond my capabilities. That's when I might refer them to a therapist or whatever. But mostly, I can coach my clients through that dependency or habit.
Right. And to be clear, it's not about getting them to a place where they're alcohol free, but it's that they're being very intentional about their usage of that in addition to their other, call them vices, call them what you will. But it's about taking more control.
Yeah. And again, just to be aware of how it affects you. Some women actually then notice, oh my God, I feel actually so much better, or I feel crap after I drink a glass of wine. And again, that won't be forever. Maybe it's just right now until whatever other inflammation is going on in your body settles down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, now I'm starting to ask myself different questions too as we're talking here. So this is great. Well, Sonja, I thank you for taking the time in your careful consideration of my questions here. It's been really nice getting to understand more about what you do and how you help women. And it sounds like it's a great system for you because it's also a way to kind of keep yourself in check and keep yourself intentional about how you continue to do things as well. And it seems like you've built in these reminders by working with these women, reminders for yourself that you continue to do it in that way. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and that is actually one of the biggest gifts with what I'm doing is that, I am my happiest and best as a coach when I am following my own advice. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I see it in my own life. I've seen the empowered feeling that I get. So yeah, it does remind me to stay focused as much. And then, also when you have those days where things don't go your way, or when your kids do drive you to drink, then, that you have compassion with yourself. We're not here to lead these perfect lives. It's more about the progress and the internal, not inspection, the internal, going inside and sort of being curious about what's going on. Yeah. I have days where, all I want to eat is pasta and have a bottle of wine. That'll happen again, but then knowing your way back and not making that one bad day turn into 10 bad days,
right.
Just throwing up your hands and being again a victim and saying, oh, I can't take this anymore.
Right.
No, right. And you have tools then to come back from those mishaps or those days.
Right. The off day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a system to come back to. You have the tools to get back to it, and then a system to come back to that you want to sustain more regularly, it sounds like. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. Before I ask you another question, I'll leave you to it. It's been very nice getting to reconnect with you again, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
This has been Intentionally Ever After, hosted by intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek. If you would like to have your own intentional conversation with Joe on or off the air, visit intentionallyeverafter.com. Thanks for listening.